Could you tell us briefly about yourself and what it is you do?
Okay, my name's Carl Ashmore and I am a lecturer in media and film at Stoke-on-Trent College.
What challenges did you face when trying to get into teaching, and how did you overcome?
Right, well, I think I started off, I did my degree in Bournemouth University in media production, and I started off by going into the industry, working in television for a few years. To be honest, even when I was at college and when I was doing my A-levels, I always thought that it's best if I kind of pick a degree that's part practical and part theoretical. So if I wanted to teach one day, then I'd have the theoretical side to fall back on. And if I wanted to kind of go into the industry, which I do think is quite important nowadays, for young people trying to get into teaching media, to actually have some hands-on practical experience. So I did my degree, worked in the industry for a period, worked as a video producer for British Aerospace, worked as a runner for Vets Television, and as a PA for Granada Television in Manchester. And at the same time I was working in television. I wasn't particularly happy, actually, so I met, of all places, which is such a kind of cliche, but I met an old lecturer of mine in a pub, and he said, well, would you like, we've got some hours going at South Cheshire College in Crewe, teaching film studies and communication studies, and would you like to do those hours? And whatever happens, I mean, this is always a great bit of advice, whatever job you're going into, but you know, take whatever you can, and when people know your face and they know you can do that job, they'll perhaps offer you more opportunities. So I started with only, I think, 6 or 10 hours a week, and before you knew it, I was doing more hours as a lecturer than I was working for Granada, because that was only a sort of temporary contract thing, and I kind of just fell into it that way.
Qualities are needed when looking to get into teaching?
Yeah, I think, well, first and foremost, you need to know your subject very well. However, there are other personal qualities that I think are important. You need to be able to be confident enough in yourself, in your abilities, in your knowledge, to be able to impart that information. Again, it sounds obvious, but if you're in front of 20 students and they're really keen on you, they're questioning you on kind of all aspects of what you're delivering. If you can't give them some kind of qualified answer, some reasonable answer, then your weaknesses are exploited. So I think that's important. Personally, I think you need energy, drive, commitment to your subject, and you need to enjoy it. I mean, I do think that people are quite blessed if they get to teach about a subject that they care about. I care about film, I care about screenwriting and writing. I'm an author as well now, and it's an honour at times to be able to teach that. I'm not saying it's not a difficult job. At other times it is a very difficult job. It's getting increasingly difficult for many reasons, but nevertheless, I think it's, we are lucky. My dad was a postman, and I'm pretty sure he didn't enjoy that. I get to talk about Hitchcock, or I get to talk about a Jimmy McGovern television programme, or talk about mythology or narrative structure, and that's quite enjoyable.
You said you were an author. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, the last 5 or 6 years I've moved into writing children's books, and I've sold over 20,000 now, and I've just got a publishing contract in Brazil, which has just come about quite recently, really. So it's something I do as well as lecture. In fact, I'm now going down to 3 days a week as a lecturer. So today's my last day, actually, as a full-time lecturer at Stoke-on-Trent College, and for a year anyway I'm going down to 3 days, and I'm going to devote the other 2 days to writing. So yeah, I suppose I am an author as well now.
What advice do you have for people hoping to get into teaching?
Get a good degree, You'll need to do a teaching qualification after that. It's essential now. If you're lucky, you might be able to pick up some part-time lecturing and do the qualification at the same time. That's how I did it. I think most of the time now you need to get the qual before you even can sort of start your training, start doing any teaching. So get that teaching qualification, know your subject inside out, make contacts with lecturers who are doing the kind of stuff that you want to do. See if there's any opportunities. There often isn't. You know, we have quite a few people, you know, knocking on our door and seeing if there's any opportunities, and sadly, most of the time there just isn't. But you never know. And keep looking at tests. You know, Times Educational Supplement, I think, still printed on a Thursday. And if there are any places looking for proportional lecturers or part-time lecturers, then send in your CV, you know, and just see where it takes you. It might be that you have to sort of do things unpaid for a period. Teaching now is there are more media courses than ever, but there are also more people wanting to teach than ever. So it is very difficult, and there are also a lot of people like me who, you know, I'm 44 now, and I've been lecturing since 1990. So I started as a part-time lecturer for 4 years before I got my first full-time job. And you know, people going into the industry are going to be against people that have done it for quite some time. You've got to try and find a way to present yourself in a way that is perhaps slightly different, or you need to show at interview or with the people that you meet that you're committed, that you're capable, and you're dynamic, really.
Could you briefly tell us about yourself and what it is that you do?
Yeah, my name's Sue Page, and I'm a lecturer at Stoke-on-Trent College.
What challenges did you face when you were trying to get a job in teaching the media?
The challenges that I've faced when trying to get work in the industry or as a media lecturer was the fact that I was female. I was the only female applicant for the post, but sometimes, you know, and looking back now, I think that was more of an advantage, because there are more males in the industry that are working in the industry, and are requiring more females to get into the industry.
What qualities do you think are needed if you're hoping to get into the industry or into teaching?
Well, I think the qualities that are needed is firstly to have an interest in the media. Some experience is required. Obviously qualifications would help, but it is a cliche. It's sort of who you know to a certain degree. And trying to network. I would recommend people trying to network and trying to show off their skills in any way. If they've got any portfolios or any evidence of voluntary work or experience, then that's the first steps, really. I started off as a runner in the industry, and then moved on from then to a researcher and progressed, and ended up working for Granada and doing documentaries for Granada. So it was a challenge, again, like I said, with being female and working with a lot of males in the industry, and but I learnt a lot as well from them.
Could you tell us a little bit about you from working to a runner up until Granada?
Yeah. I started, well, it was when I was doing my course. I started doing a HND in media at Liverpool Community College, and they had links with Granada. I had to pitch a documentary idea to Granada, and firstly it was declined. All the students that was on the course, their work was declined, or their pitch was declined. So I was determined to get a documentary out there, and to try and get some work experience. So I repitched my idea, and they had a look at it and they said, right, well, we'll take it on. So they gave me a low budget, and I ended up creating a documentary for ITV. I then wanted more work, so I started to network, and I ended up working on film sets from there, working with, linking with people within the organisation, and just taking business cards from people and contacting them, emailing them, communicating with them, and they just started giving me work from there. So I started as a runner at some small productions, and then I ended up working on a film set and as a boom operator. So it sort of progressed from there. Then it went on to corporate videos. So I started working for a producer for corporate videos, and did that, and that was all in the Liverpool sort of area. I then went back to Birmingham, where my parents are, and started, after I graduated, I went back to Birmingham to live with my family, and wanted to go into teaching. I mean, it is a challenge, and you've got to really maintain your skills and your networking. But that was, for me, it was very difficult because I wanted a stable income, and that's why I sort of went into the route of teaching.
What advice can you offer people who are hoping to get into the media industry or into teaching?
I'd say communication is a big key to try and get into any industry, really. You've got to be able to communicate. You've got to know your subject. I would say working as a team is very important, and being able to be flexible. But there's so many, so many jobs. It's very hard to get jobs these days. So doing extra work and showing that you're keen and going the extra mile is very important to stand out.